There are over 40,900 polling stations across all the 276 constituencies in all the 16 regions. There is only one election command center, and that's right here. And we're building up strongly to Election Day, December 7. Everything you need to know, we'll tell you about it. And that's exactly what we've been building up to over the period. And stay with us here across all media journal platforms. My name is Alfred Okansi. And this morning, I have Martin Esiedodate right here. Yes. Martin,
yes,
what are we to expect?
Good morning to you, Alfred, as well. Good morning to our viewers. Coincidentally, the regions you mentioned, some are toss-ups, some in the way they voted over time have shown that they are stuck to one particular party. However, when we narrow down to some specific constituencies that we'll be going to very shortly,
right,
in all the middle belt of the country, where you're talking about Ahafo, Bono East, and Bono itself, then we have Eastern Ashanti and Oti. These are the regions in the middle part of Ghana. Some have stuck to a particular party, but when you go specifically to some region, constituencies, we'll be digging into how they have voted over time and why we are saying that these particular seats are toss-up seats that people should watch out for. That's part of our big conversation later in the show. The devil is in the detail, they say. Michael Obodo, what are we looking at today?
Some interesting facts and some of the trends that we're seeing in some of the regions that we'll be exploring. Some of them, for instance, the NDC, for instance, has never won apart from the JJ effect. And also we see that a number of the swings, the seats that are also vote in a particular pattern, the margins are beginning to closen up. And we'll delve into that as we engage our data analyst.
It's a good one to look at, and that would lead us into a conversation on what's going on in these regions and constituencies. It's not just about the trends, it's about the story behind the trends. Kemini?
That's about right, Alfred. This is the desk where the people's conversation takes place. We'll check out what is driving the voting patterns you're seeing across the middle belt. I'm Kemini Amano.
Indeed, my name is Berla Mundi, and if you look at the shocks that came with the election results in the 2020 general elections, and you compare that to the performance of the ruling government, as well as campaign promises that have been made by all the parties as well, that should inform your decision as to whether to vote for one party or the other, especially if you find yourself in the middle belt. And so we'll have that conversation moving on. My name is Berla.
My name is Beatrice Edu, and we'll also be looking into really how big these toss-ups will be and how, whether or not the NDC and the NPP will be eating very big into the constituencies of their stronghold.
Certainly, and that's all of it. We're going to be right here on your election command center, Election360, and some 9 days to decision day. We'll be back shortly with some more, starting off with the election nuggets after this quick break. Stay with us.
Report, you know that people in the media, including and then people who are in the security services and officials of the Electoral Commission, are those that are going to be voting on the 2nd of December. Why? It is because On election day proper, on the 7th of December, they will be working. So they can't leave work, go and vote, and come back. So a special day has been set aside for them to vote. This is actually backed by Regulation 23, Public Elections Regulations 2020, CI 127. Now, when your name has been transferred to the Electoral Commission that you are voting on special day, you cannot vote on that day and again vote on December 7th. And when your name is transferred to a particular polling station to go and vote on the special voting day, you cannot go elsewhere to vote. So this is what basically the law is saying. So if your name is at this polling station and you go elsewhere, you will be denied access to voting. You have to go where your name is. And by now, all those who are doing special voting should know where they are going to be voting at, because we are told that every constituency has one polling center they are going to be doing the special voting at. So if you do not know, you are in the security services, you are a media person whose vote has been transferred to vote on special day, or you are an officer of the EC and you don't know where you're going to be voting, by now you should start looking for that, so that on the 2nd of December, when we, your Election Command Center, deploy our men to bring you the stories as they unfold on the special voting day, you definitely should be in the queue to cast your ballot or exercise your franchise. So that's the nugget for you on this day as we're bringing you Election 360.
And Martin, it's important that you make this point, because as the Electoral Commission has told us, some 328 special voting centers have been set up, and 131,800 special voters are expected to cast their ballot on December 2nd, and that may include you and I. That is if we did register, so, you know. But then again, we do know that the GJA is yet to give us a clear indication whether they have the list of the special voters, because by now they should have it. They should have it. The EC chair indicated 2 days ago that they have provided the list of the special voters to the various institutions that apply for it. It's obviously the security agencies, the Ghana Police Service, the personnel who will be on duty on that day, the Ghana Prison Service, the Fire Service, also the military who would also be deployed to give some augmented support on that day, and journalists as well. In 2020, we saw the Custom Division of Ghana Revenue Authority, all of these personnel also taking part in the voting on special day. So we'll see how things play out on December 2nd, on Monday.
Yeah, so that's your election nugget.
I don't have it. You're still watching Election 360 here on TV3, your Election Command Center. My name is Michael Obudu. Now we have our in-house data analyst. It's always exciting to engage him because I get to hear and learn things about our elections that shock me. So this time we're putting the spotlight in the middle region, in the middle belt, and we are starting with OT region. Already we are seeing that the NDC has 8 MPs there, 0 for the MPP. But is this the first time we are seeing anything about toss-ups and safe seats and the likes for the MPP?
No, so I think in this year's election, a lot of work has been done. You see a lot of research, you see a lot of... People have become more interested, and it's good. Okay. Now we have a lot of research, opinion polls. So the word toss-ups are now coming up a lot more. The likely, most likely, strongly. You see all of these terms now coming up in the 2024 elections. And it goes to show that people and research is now being put into our election analysis. And it's very good for how elections are governed in the country.
Well, you are the expert. First of all, what do you mean when you say toss-up?
When we say toss-up, it means that neither the NDC, here let's talk about the 2 main parties. Yeah. So neither the NDC nor the NPP can lay a claim on that particular constituency. They have to wait and go to that fateful day of December 7 and battle it out. And then we will determine the winner at that particular date.
Even in the OT region that's known to be an NDC stronghold?
Yes. So, for example, when you go to the OT region, you have currently all of the 8 constituencies are being occupied by the NDC. But you look at the data, 4 of them can swing to the NPP. Wow. The NPP can win not all of the 4, but a percentage of it.
Likely.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that is how it looks like.
Walk us through.
So you can see, so this is the list. Let me take a minute to just explain. When we meet by these 2 terms, we have 2020 magnitude and then 2020 direction.
Yeah.
The 2020, the magnitude is the advantage of the party. So as at 2020, when you take Karachi East, the NDC had an advantage of 1.3%.
Okay.
And the direction is positive. The direction can be negative or it can be positive.
Okay.
So for Karachi East, the direction of the data is favorable to the NDC. So they have 1.5% positive.
Okay.
But when you go to somewhere like Nkwanta North, that is where it becomes interesting. The advantage in that constituency for the NDC is just 3.4%. That is the magnitude that they have. But you look at the direction, they are negative 20%.
I mean, they are losing grounds there?
What it means is that between 2016 and the 2020 elections, a colossal amount of 20% of the valid votes shifted away from the NDC and moved towards the NPP. That's why you see the negative 20 over there. So you see that for some of them, their chances are smaller. Others have relatively good chances of maintaining their seat. But these constituents are going to be very close, toss-up, going to be fought for. And these are the 4 regions. Karachi is currently occupied by the NDC. It's a toss-up. Karachi, that word, this word sometimes I find it difficult to pronounce, though. But maybe if you can.
And,
yes,
I guess.
Yes, maybe your guess is right. They are doing 3.6, but they are just negative 0.6. So they are relatively stable.
Okay.
Karachi West, a toss-up. You see, they have an advantage of just 2.1, but look at the direction in Karachi West. You see that negative 21%.
Okay.
So there is an underground shift. It could be that maybe the MP had been there for a long time. There are several dynamics that goes into the electorate moving away from a particular party. It could be that the candidate of the position is very strong. So this is how it looks like in the OT region.
But it clearly shows you that the NPP might be doing something right in the region, because from what you are saying, it looks like they're gaining some grounds against the NDC. Is that the case?
And the NPP should be commended, because not only even in the parliamentary elections, they are increasing their presidential share of the vote gradually, both in voter and in the OT, and it is more profound in the OT region. So you can see that they are trying to take some seats and lay claim on some of at least 2 of the seats. But if there are, for all these 4, the most that the MPP can take is Karachi West and Nkwanta North. These 2 seats are more likely, if they will swing to the opposition, these 2 seats are more likely to swing to the NPP.
Of course, because they've gained significant grounds over
there.
But then on the other score, remember earlier you had mentioned that the voter base is increasing. Is that also playing an effect in this, or is this generally the fact that the NPP is doing better work there?
No, so when you look at percentages, so the base, the increase of the base generally favors the national presidential elections, because the whole country is one constituency. But when it comes to parliamentary, which is localized, it is more important to focus on the ratios. Okay, so if even the base is increasing, what percentage are you getting? So that's why we focus more on the ratios than the nominal figures, which is increasing.
Then OT will be a region to really keep an eye on. But let's talk about the Ashanti region then.
It's people think.
So, guys, before we get into the Ashanti region quickly, let's look at the clear detail of what you put on there in the OT region. Let's flip to the OT region, the toss-ups that you look at, because then beyond the numbers and the projections, there's a story that also must be told. And Ben, you made the point about the candidates who are contesting. It's a very, very important denominator in there, because then they would then also influence whether or not the voting pattern is going to continue, and whether the parties have changed their candidates going into this election. And that's what we want to see right now. Martin, let's look at in Kwanta South, South constituency. What
if
does
you
the trend
look at and probably we can pick that on the screen as well. So the toss-up constituencies in the OT region, we have Kratchi East, Kratchi Inchumuru, Kratchi West, and then also Nkwanta North. So Kratchi East, for instance, if we want to look at, this is Kratchi West, so this should be Kratchi East. If you look specifically at the numbers and the voting pattern over the years, in 2012, for instance, it was a very comfortable seat for the NDC. They won it, and this is parliamentary. Almost always keep in mind that because we have parliamentary and presidential, people sometimes mix it up. We are talking strictly parliamentary. 52.9% for the NDC in 2012. Basically, you can see that's 53%, 40 for the NPP. In 2016, 49.5. You can say that is 50 again for the NDC. That's right. 49.7 for the NPP. Very, very close race. If you even look at the vote margin, 14,551 against 14,504. So it meant that in 2016, the NPP won the Kratchi East constituency. But let's come to 2020 and look at the vote difference. The NDC won it back again. So you can safely say that this is a swing constituency in a safe region for the NDC. And the voter difference here, 19,837, 20,336. That is why the analyst is saying that Kratchi East constituency in the OT region is a toss-up seat because it means it could swing either way, following the trajectory of the voting pattern since 2012, 2016, and 2020. Almost
600 votes difference there, and that's significant. And we need to also underscore the fact that this OT region is a new region. And so if we're doing the analysis of the presidential, we would say that the only time OT as a region voted is in the 2020 elections.
Yes.
It was carved out of the Volta region. So if you go to 2012, whatever happened in the Kratchi East constituency happened in the Volta region.
Yes, in the
2016, the Volta region. And then now in 2020, they voted as a new region, OT region. Yes. That puts another context to the analysis as well. And Kamini, now looking at how this has been over the period and taking into consideration the candidates as well, because bear in mind, the incumbent is going. But then again, the MPP is also testing its mettle with another candidate. How are things playing out?
Indeed. You know, while we're on the subject of that, I do want to bring into the picture one constituency in the OT region that, you know, has been described as a virgin constituency. It's very nascent because this will be the first time that they will be casting their ballots, ladies, in this election, the Guan constituency. We know the circumstances that have come up on that. Obviously, Fred Agbenyo will be going up against Michael Osibo, who is a plant engineer and the NPP candidate. These two front runners would have to battle for votes in that area. I want to start with you, Beatrice. When you look at the Guan constituency, you look at the the issues that when you look at the numbers that the people on the analysis side have shared so far, it would appear that Guan may be leaning towards the NDC, would you say? Or could it be payback?
It's very obvious because, I mean, a lot of things happened, as you just narrated. They were expecting that they will be voting, only for them to be told just a few days to the elections that we are sorry, you cannot vote. And this case has been ongoing until just recently when they were cleared, and you're aware that the Electoral Commission had to lay a special CI and allowed them to vote. But when you listen to the people in that constituency, it looks very obvious that they are not happy with what has happened, because for 4 years, they have not been allowed to get representation in Parliament. And a lot of things, of course, that's why we have decentralization. A lot of things in the local areas have suffered because they didn't have any representation. In addition to that, and this is a conversation I was even having with certain individuals who understand really our political terrain, who feel that the recent judgment from the Supreme Court itself perhaps add injury to insult to injury, as it were, because the Supreme Court, one of the main reasons it decided that the Speaker of Parliament could not go ahead with declaring those 4 seats vacant was because it felt that within the last 3 months to the general election, the people will not be represented. And so the argument from those in that constituency is, okay, you left us for almost 4 years, but you're concerned about 3 months to the general election. And so it's a region that seems, or it's a constituency that seems obvious for the NDC because of what has transpired over the years.
And Bella, you have traveled all across the country in the last few months. The people of Guan, one of the issues that we know they will determine their vote will be the underdevelopment in that area. What you have seen across the country, how do you feel that it resonates perhaps with the people there?
I mean, for them, I believe that if you listen to what they say, the fact that they have not even had representation in the first place, for them to even think about what kind of developments will come into their, their constituency is the problem. And so the other question would be, did the NDC have to do much work to even convince them? And I don't think they needed to. Of course, they needed to touch on their emotions at the same time. But if you live within that constituency and you realize that for some reason you've not been given representation, I think that alone enables you to determine who you're voting for. And if the NDC also capitalizes on that, and over the time they've...
Bella, my understanding is your microphone is off. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Bella will make that point, and then we'll continue with our conversation on the OT region. Don't go away.
I'm a Ghanaian.
Years, and if that should go or inure to their benefit is really up to the voters to decide, and so we wait to see how that goes, like we were saying much earlier. Yeah,
I would say that the NDC is capitalizing on it, because recently we had the flag bearer of the party, John Mahama, saying that, well, they denied you and this is what they are saying, and so it seems to me that whenever they get the opportunity, they want to tell the people that, see what they did to you. So make up your mind and vote properly.
Well, Fred Agbenyo has also tried his best to do that as well. And, you know, he's talked about the machinations against even that CI that was laid that should prevent them from even getting the chance to vote as well. And so, really, it depends. It's different what the flag bearer might say or what the parliamentary candidates might say. And it's really different how the people there feel as well and what they think should be done right for them. So
then it's an opportunity for the NPP to win a seat there and make it one, or the NDC then gets 9 seats in the OT region. But it also means that the voters will have to determine whether or not they're paying back the current administration or they're giving their traditional NDC a chance. But you did have a question for the other side, Beatrice, on the toss-ups and, you know, what is making the toss-up, the nuances that come with the toss-up.
Indeed, and I wanted to ask our in-house researcher, really. I mean, we've seen a number of toss-ups, and since yesterday we've been speaking about it. But I'm just wondering what really...
Well, Beatrice, unfortunately, they can't hear you, but perhaps I'll piggyback off you and then ask Eben. Eben, while you're telling us the story of the top toss-ups, I want to know how the nuances play when it comes to absolute numbers, because there have been times that people have won elections very thin margins here in this country. So talk to us about the nuances that come with that, Eben.
Yeah, so when we talk about the toss-ups, technically we are looking at constituencies that are very competitive. And when it's competitive because we can't determine whether the NDC or the MPP is winning. What we can say is that the dynamics within the data show that it is very difficult to predict an outcome of that particular constituency. And so all the toss-ups that we have are constituencies where, as I mentioned earlier, it is only on election day that we will be able to determine. So the one that we have listed, the Karachi East and all the other toss-ups constituencies, basically it's as a result of the elections being very close and unable to decide between the two.
And definitely with the voter turnout and the candidates as well having their own advantages. But let's go to the Ashanti region. Michael, what's the composition in there? It's a stronghold for the MPP, but then again, the NDC wants to win 35% of the votes this year, and the NPP is talking about 85%. How's it looking like?
Some very interesting projections there. Everybody is very optimistic, both the NPP and the NDC, and I think the numbers too are looking quite interesting. Eben will be walking us through. We know the NDC has 4 seats in there. The NPP has 42, but of course the independent candidate there is doing business with them, and we know is back on the ticket of the NPP. So Eben, we see that the NDC has 3 safe seats, so there's one there that they have to juggle for.
Exactly. So currently they have 4, 3 are safe for them. For the MPP, 39 out of the 42, let's add the independent, as you said, they do business together, 39 are safe. So 5 seats, we will not be able to tell whether they are going for the NPP or the NDC, and that is, these are the list. Ahafo Ano North is a toss-up, occupied by the NPP. Ahafo Ano Southeast is a toss-up. Whether fortunately, unfortunately, or surprisingly, Atrimampunia is a toss-up. Offenso North is a toss-up, and then Setre Afram Plains is a toss-up. So 4 of the seats out of the 5 are constituents being occupied by the NPP and 1 by the NDC.
Now, walk us through the gains also. We see that the NDC appears to be doing some work in there. What's happening?
No, so if you see, you realize that the margins are closed. And so maybe when we go to Martin, he will be able to tell us the nitty-gritty and the trend line of at least one of these 2 constituencies, of the specifics, why we are saying that this particular constituency is a toss-up.
Absolutely. So let's look at, probably we'll pick Atrimampunia in the Ashanti region. Let me just stand this way so we can have a better view of what we are looking at. So this is the Ashanti region in total. We are going specifically to Atrimampunia, which is one of the seats we here are saying is a toss-up. Now, this is Atrimampunia. Look at the numbers from 2012. We'll come specifically to the 2020 figures that we are discussing. But 2012, NPP won with 57.2, NDC got 41. 2016, NPP had 59, NDC had 39. Now, come to 2020, which is where the interesting factor, staring us in the face. The NPP actually lost or fell from 59.14 to 49.19, and the NDC gained from 39.3 to 45.2. And that is why, if you look at the percentage difference from what we have there, it is minus 15.8%. So the NDC has actually gained quite substantially in terms of the vote, plus the other criteria that gives a constituency the toss-up status. And if you look at these numbers, even look at the raw numbers, 32,504 as against 29,809. So technically, you're looking about maybe just about 800, yes, between 800 and 900 seats, votes in a constituency which has predominantly been an MP. So over time, the NPP is losing and the NDC is gaining, and that is why 2024 we think that it is anyone's seat.
So this is the parliamentary. But let's look at the presidential. If they will also have that close
absolutely for the presidential,
because it could also tell a different story.
For the presidential, there's always a tendency that either the presidential candidate is more popular than the parliamentary candidate, or vice versa. Now, mind you, a key issue to note is that in the 2016 elections, the NPP presidential candidate, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, was the one that literally dragged a number of the parliamentary candidates to the finishing line. That is why some people have described it as an overperformance for the NPP. The popularity of Nana Akufo-Addo. What is likely to happen in the 2024 election is that the parliamentary candidates, their popularity is what Dr. Bawumia would ride on. So let's look at the numbers. Here, the NPP candidate in 2020 got 57%, as against NDC's 41% in the same constituency. So the candidate actually increased. In fact, Akufo-Addo also dropped points. So in 2016, he has 63. In 2020, he had 57. So he lost about, say, 5 percentage points.
Precisely.
So it tells you that the presidential data is different from the parliamentary data.
So the presidential candidate is doing well there than the parliamentary candidate. And Kemeni, this obviously fits into what we've been talking about, that it cannot be the case with the toss-ups, that if we look at the parliamentary candidates, their presidential candidates are actually doing quite well, even more in those toss-up constituencies, is it not?
And, you know, we've been talking about, you know, split ticket voting, and hopefully, you know, both parties in their path to victory are looking at that. But, you know, the Ashanti region is looking to be a very interesting place, considering they are all, including independent candidates, smaller political parties, are putting a lot of focus on that. Ladies, your last remarks on the Ashanti region, and then we call it a day.
Well, I think it's going to be an interesting one, especially looking at the fact that over the last few weeks, we've seen you know, the vice presidential, well, the flag bearer of the NPP spend some time in the Ashanti region. We've seen the president himself also spend time. We're told that the, you know, the vice presidential candidate for the NPP also will be spending some ample amount of time in there. They have said that they're looking to make about 85%, and so they have a lot of work to do. A couple of days to elections. Are we going to see that play out in, you know, the promises and, of course, the conversations they have there? Let's wait and see how it goes. But that definitely is their World Bank, and they have everything to gain in there if they really get their campaign message right.
I would say that, of course, the Ashanti region is the World Bank of the NPP, but it doesn't look like the NPP still wants to sleep on that. Now, over the last period, we've seen even big wigs of the parties go to the Ashanti region. Some of them are staying there even until after the polls. So it's indicative that really both parties are stretching themselves to ensure that they are able to eat into the votes of the opponents as much as possible.
Anyway, we'll have to go. We'll be back here same time tomorrow on Election 360. I'm Kemeni Amano. I've been here with Bella and Beatrice. I'll hand over to the guys on the magic walls.
Well, thank you very much for staying with us here. Make a date, same time tomorrow. But your Election Command Center coverage continues, and there's News Central in the next 10 minutes. My name is Alfred Konse.
And I'm Martin Esiedu Dati.
Michael Obodu.
Yeah, he's a star man. All right, thank you for watching. Bye for now.